Absolutely. There has been so much drama, I think, leading up to this inauguration, to Vice President or now President-elect Joe Biden's win in November, to President Trump contesting those election results, and even to the events just over a week ago in the Capitol when we saw all of that violence and rioting break out. That all led to very tight security here in Washington. And there definitely is a feeling of anxiety throughout the city, this fear that a potential violent event could happen ahead of the inauguration or during inauguration week. So you do see the U.S. National Guard and Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police very much out in force today.
And as we saw in the report by Greg Jenner, Joe Biden and his wife are staying not far from the White House on the eve of the inauguration. What are the proceedings for the day?
Well, they're going to look very different this year than they have in the past. Normally, the president-elect or incoming president attends church at St. John's at Lafayette Square. That's, of course, the church where President Trump and the authorities deployed tear gas last year so he could have a photo op in front of it with a Bible. Now we're going to see Vice President or President-elect Biden go and attend church there, along with some members of Congress, members of his incoming administration. And normally he would go to the White House and be greeted by the president and First Lady, and he would go along with the incoming First Lady. That's not happening this year because we see that President Trump is leaving at 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning. So, definitely a very different welcome for President-elect Biden than past presidents.
Indeed, we're expecting to cover Trump leaving the White House too in just a couple of hours from now. Now, crowds have exceeded 1 million at previous inaugurations. Far fewer are expected this time around, though.
Far fewer, and we knew even before the insurrection at the Capitol just over a week ago, we knew that it was going to be a more digital or virtual televised event. Normally you have crowds lining the National Mall, staying in hotels and Airbnbs across D.C. However, before the events of just a week and a half ago, President-elect Biden said it would be more like a virtual event. So he'd be sworn in on the steps of the Capitol, but all of the celebrations would be virtual. We obviously have that televised sort of inaugural ball or special hosted by Tom Hanks that will appear this evening in the U.S. on television. However, with the events at the Capitol and that insurrection, we now see that the National Mall is completely locked down and that it's nearly impossible for U.S. civilians to get close to any federal buildings. So it's going to be a very different kind of event that we've really ever seen before.
And Julie, what access do journalists have, and how has covering this event been different compared to previous inaugurations in your view?
Well, journalists still have access. However, the access is definitely more limited. So while I won't be at the Capitol Hill today, we do see that other outlets are allowing allowed to send 1 or 2 people to go cover it. So it's much more scaled down, and that's obviously because of security precautions and coronavirus concerns. But I think for journalists, it's been definitely a tough couple of weeks here in Washington. We saw that violence that broke out at the Capitol. There was a lot of very violent rhetoric heard during that incident, really spewed towards journalists. So it's been a difficult couple of weeks for journalists, and I think they are definitely maybe a little more on edge today.
Meanwhile, as you mentioned, we are going to see Donald Trump leave the White House. Do you think he could possibly make any big announcements today? There's talk that he's starting a new political party called the Patriot Party.
Well, it's possible. Donald Trump is definitely one to try to get as much attention on himself, to get that spotlight on himself. And I think I wouldn't put it past him to do it on President-elect Biden's inauguration. However, he's been very quiet over the past couple of weeks. That's partially because he's been banned from Twitter. But it's possible that he will say something. But I think it's very telling. He leaves Washington very alone. Normally, the outgoing president and vice president have some sort of photo op, leave together, or have some sort of unity, a show of unity before they leave. Vice President Pence will not be seeing President Trump off, according to his public schedule today. And we saw that the vice president put out a tweet yesterday reflecting on the past 4 years. They were pictures with his family, him doing a number of events or traveling during his tenure as vice president. President Trump was absent from all of those pictures.
Julia, a massive day ahead for everyone involved. Thanks so much for joining The World first thing in the morning. We wish you all the best for today. Have a good one.